Okay, I think we're super on time. I think that's a little bit behind, but thank you everyone for being here. I'm super excited to open the speaker series, Grand Rounds, with Dr. Angela Orebaugh. So this is, I think, one of the best opportunities of being part of an academic community is to get to learn from each other, and the opportunity to really invite someone from our school, our own talent, to teach us something different and something that applies to our daily lives. So let me just read a little bio, an introduction to Dr. Orebaugh. She's a professor at the School of Computer Science here at UVA. She's been here for 12 years, she said? Oh, 9 years. She completed her PhD at George Mason University in the School of Engineering. She had a Master of Science in Computer Science at James Madison University and a Master of Liberal Arts in Sustainability at Harvard, where her focus of her capstone project was creating technology-focused sustainability curriculum. She teaches a class right now at UVA, around 300 students per semester, where she intersects technology, sustainability, and kind of like mindfulness and how to integrate technology in our daily lives. She has, before her academia, she had extensive background in cybersecurity and has taught cybersecurity at George Mason University, University of Berkeley, and Penn State. Over 25 years, she had experience in the industry of cybersecurity, working with the National Institute of Standards of Technology, the Department of Defense, intelligence agencies, small businesses, startups. So we really have someone who has a really great background on all of it, outside and inside of academia. Most of her research is focused on the passion of promoting mindful, intentional, and engagement with technology, and also explores that digital well-being, which is really the topic that we're going to explore today. So beyond that, she has multiple publications, author of 6 technology books, over 30 published articles, co-author of 7 NSIT publications, and published papers in different areas of behavioral biometrics and data mining. All right, Angela, thank you for being here. We're excited for your lecture. Everyone online has good sound.
Thank you. I mean, thank you for that bio. I'm excited to be here. I'm going to wave to the people on Zoom because they're looking at you. Hello, everyone on Zoom. Pixels and Presence, Cultivating Digital Wellbeing in Radiology is what I'm going to be speaking about today. But I can fill in a few gaps. That was a really great intro for me. Like Juliana said, I'm an associate professor over at computer science, but my path here was a little different because I was in industry for over 20 years before I moved into academia. So I worked on my PhD while I was working full time in industry up in the DC area before finishing my PhD and moving down here to work at UVA. My background is mostly cybersecurity. The class that I teach every semester, I teach 2 sections of Introduction to Cybersecurity. So I teach students to think like hackers, but in a defense way, to be able to catch the hackers. And so I have 300 students per semester taking cybersecurity. Over the past year, though, I've developed this very strong interest in contemplative science. I continued learning. I am a lifelong learner. I'm constantly taking classes and in school as well as being a professor. So I continued taking classes in this area, some graduate focus in contemplative sciences, and I've been able to merge that with my technology background through contemplative computing, through digital well-being. And it's been really great so far. I created a new class with the help of 2 of my undergraduate students who are interested in this area. We just offered it this last summer, the Human-Centered Computing for Digital Wellbeing. And that was taught to computer science undergraduate students, mostly 3rd and 4th years. It was teaching the students how to develop software and technologies with the human at the center and their well-being as the top priority. A lot of the software that we use, especially social media, certain apps, they're developed with persuasive design to keep us on longer, to keep us engaged, to notify us and trigger us to come back when we've strayed away. So under this big umbrella in computer science called human-computer interaction is where this class on digital well-being falls. To teach them, yeah, those are great business moves, but let's think about the human. Let's put that human and their well-being at the center of everything. I also created a small research group that's growing now for largely at this point undergraduate students called the Dwell Collective. And I have a few students that have been helping on the education side and also on some research side as well. And in fact, the next few slides, I want to at least highlight two projects from two of my students and what they're working on. I want to highlight Maria first. Maria Dolan, she's a fourth year in computer science. She's majoring in computer science and double majoring in neuroscience as well. And yes, she plans to go on to med school after she graduates. She's also a distinguished major, so she's working on her distinguished major project and researching digital well-being in the area of student focus, like when you're on your laptop and you're studying or working on an assignment or working on a project. So she's creating this passive desktop tracker to model and predict these fluctuations in student focus. And by doing so, her system can help students take restorative breaks to help when their focus starts to decline, to help them kind of refresh and rejuvenate. That's a really great example of research at the intersection of machine learning, which she is using, and contemplative computing. Now, Lauren Hruza, she's also a fourth year. She's majoring in computer science. She is studying the attention economy. And she's working on her undergraduate thesis in this area. Specifically, she's analyzing behavioral patterns that can lead to smartphone addiction, burnout, shortened attention spans, things that a lot of people are really struggling with right now. And by understanding how we are spending our attention currency on various apps and platforms, we can reduce our engagement, we can reduce our distractions, and we can improve our digital well-being. So you can see certainly the interdisciplinary nature of both of these projects and just digital well-being in general. That's the thing that I really like about it. So what is digital well-being? It's about creating a healthy relationship with our technology, finding that balance between usage, enjoyment, and distraction. It's not just about using less technology, but using it more intentionally. And we'll talk about some strategies for that here today. Digital well-being impacts our attention, it impacts our focus, our rest and sleep, and our relationships and connections with others as well. We want our technology to support us rather than detract. And we want it to support our mental health, our physical health, and our social health as well. So in healthcare, and in radiology, and in medical imaging, you are immersed in screens. You are immersed in data. You are making decisions that matter. So your digital well-being really, really matters. Digital well-being, especially in the workplace, is obviously not about disconnecting from technology. It's about relating to it intentionally and in focus. A little bit about the digital landscape of medical imaging. One of the things in my bio that Juliana read and some of the blanks that I filled in, there was nothing in there with a medical background. So when I was asked to give this talk by Juliana, I actually needed to learn a little bit about radiology and medical imaging and some of the challenges that you may face in this digital technology world. I asked AI a few questions. I went and I read a few medical publications. I talked to my cousin who's been working her entire career in the medical imaging field. So I was gathering information, but that means I might be off, or it might not be directly related to your environment, but it could be related to someone else's environment. So I'm happy to hear where I may need to tweak some of those. These are a few highlights of the digital landscape in medical imaging. So some of these may resonate with you. You may be spending long hours on screens. you may be experiencing a lot of distractions and pulls for your attention during your time of focused work. I would expect that most of you are experiencing a high cognitive load and sometimes the associated cognitive fatigue that will come along with that. From my research that I did, I read that radiology was one of the first fully digital medical specialties. So that is great, and it brings some really great benefits like improved efficiency, ease of collaboration, increased diagnostic accuracy, but it's certainly going to bring those challenges as well. Things like your high volume of notifications and alerts, a fast-paced environment, juggling, multitasking as well, the long hours, possibly an expectation of that always on, depending on your role. And certainly, like I mentioned, a higher cognitive load and fatigue. Radiology sits at that intersection of human care and high technology. I read that burnout rates are around the 45 to 50%. I read that from the American College of Radiology and also in some studies by NIH as well. That makes this area of radiology and digital and medical imaging and actually a perfect case study for digital well-being. There's a little bit about the attention economy. I mentioned the attention economy already. When we're talking about, especially our phones, our apps, social media, the attention economy in that space is trying to keep us engaged. That's how they make their money. The attention economy in medicine, not talking about making money and keeping us engaged, but some of the same principles apply just in terms of fragmenting our attention. There's a lot of things in your field vying for your attention. It refers to how, clinicians, you have limited cognitive and attention resources, and they're being continually competed for and commodified by the various digital systems you're using, the alerts, the notification, and also documentation. I believe you probably have a lot of documentation demands that are pulling on your attention as well. So some of these aspects are similar to how social media captures our attention, but here you're in the clinical environment. So radiology and medical imaging, you guys really need to be having that deep focus, high level of deep focus in your complex digital environment, very different than what, say, even a computer scientist works with every day. You've got this constant interaction with technology, with potential multitasking and interruptions. They're all vying for your attention here. So as the technology evolves, our personal devices are also becoming the major distractor at home for sure, but sometimes in the workplace, depending on the rules that are set up for where you are working. And there has been evidence that I also read about that medical errors have been directly attributed to these distractions from our personal devices as well. So you all are relying on your deep focus for your visual analysis. But your systems are often instigating more of a surface attention by pulling you from that deep focus. Each interruption drains your focus, shortens your attention span. And this is where we're seeing, I'm going to go through each bullet, it's not on the screen yet, but this is where we're seeing impacts of this digital landscape and the attention economy in medicine. Certainly the burnout that I had mentioned before. We're also seeing negative impacts potentially on accuracy, empathy and connection, the ability to solve problems, even increased physical challenges as well, all leading to an overall reduction in well-being that can impact your sleep, it can impact your relationships, it can overall impact your mental health in a variety of different ways. So what can we do? Let's not dwell on the negative anymore. Now let's move into the positive. What can we do? What can some strategies be? Let's take action to help improve our digital well-being in various environments. I'll have a few slides as I'm adding the bullets on here for some strategies that will come up. Not all of these will apply to everyone, hopefully, and it depends on your environment and your role and your specialty, but hopefully it will give you some ideas of what you can do to improve your digital well-being. It's starting in the workplace. Another slide for personal as well. So focus rituals and mindful transitions, creating clear transitions from case to case that you're reviewing and analyzing, or maybe it's a transition between shifts, depending on how you operate. This is pausing, taking a breath before opening the next case, or before just switching tasks. You would be surprised, even though this sounds really simple, how big of a difference that makes. This has actually even been proven in cybersecurity. There are some researchers over in UVA's McIntyre School that have done research in cybersecurity related to phishing. Phishing's the emails that we get that try to trick us into putting in our password or giving away information. They did some mindfulness research with cybersecurity and found that if you take a pause and a breath before reading an email and then before reading the next email, you're less susceptible to falling for phishing. So even just that one little pause helps us in that area as well. So certainly when you're moving from case to case or task to task, a focus ritual, a mindful transition will make a big difference. Micro breaks will help your eye health. It will help restore your attention as well. Every single one of us should be, and I try, but I'm not always good at this, doing the 20-20-20 rule, where if you're on screens every 20 minutes, you look at least 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds. I have a lot of problems with my eyes drying out. So I try to remember that 20-20 rule, so much so that sometimes I'll set timers on my phone if I'm working on very intense focus work on the screen. So I remember to look 20 feet away. Adjusting from looking at something close to something far away, that's certainly going to help. The Pomodoro method can help with focused work as well. And my students that took the class over the summer talked about that was one that really helped them a lot, where you do a focused session for 25 minutes. That's called the Pomodoro, 25 minutes. And then you take a 5-minute break. And you go back and you do another 25 minutes, then you take a 5-minute break. They had a lot of success with doing that with their studies. Intentional notification management. Now this, you probably don't have a lot of control over in your work environment. Limit what you can from systems. If you have the ability to reduce certain alerts, please do so. But I know sometimes you can't in your particular field, for sure. Maybe you can close out of unnecessary systems at certain times. At least on my side of things, if I'm working on slides for this presentation or grading student work, I'll at least close out of my email so that I'm not hearing that ding anytime an email comes in. Even if I have the sound off on my system, I'm still going to see that little number in the taskbar pop up. So I log out of that. So possibly there may be some things that you can kind of minimize when it comes to your notifications. Certainly working towards changing team norms if you can. And these can be little things, having walking meetings with your colleagues, having tech-free meetings, possibly if you can. Well-being checks, checking on your colleagues and their well-being and seeing how they're doing. If you are in a leadership position or you strive for a leadership position, you certainly can be modeling a healthy digital balance. It's all about creating the culture of digital well-being. And this doesn't have to be from the top down. It's mostly coming from the ground up, usually. Rotations that balance intensity, and I actually have a little call out box for this one with a few examples. And I know, once again, depending on your specialty, depending on your environment, you can't do all of these things, but it might trigger something similar that you can do. We're talking about task rotations that deliberately alternate between these high intensity, high cognitive load activities to ones that are more lower intensity, more restorative tasks. Possibly, if you have the ability, you could alternate between high stakes diagnostic reads, those emergency traumas, those oncology follow-ups. Alternate between that and maybe some more routine. If you have the ability to do that, screening mammograms, routine outpatient MRI or X-ray, for example, any way you can add variation with what you do will help regulate your mental effort. It will help prevent your prolonged cognitive strain. On the same side, if you have the ability, rotating between modalities from CT to MRI to ultrasound. Now, I know you may be specialized, so you can't do that. But some way that you can create different perceptual and different attention will give your brain a bit of a break. You're still doing work, but you're looking at something different at that point. It's kind of similar to cross training, as we would for fitness. I do a lot of cross training. Is cross training your mind at that point? Interspersing, if you have administrative responsibilities, teaching responsibilities, research responsibilities, interspersing that with your heavy clinical days. In addition to that, balancing your focused reading and analysis time with other activities, interspersing meetings, interspersing collaboration, discussions with colleagues to give your mind a break. It really is the small moments of awareness that we can work into our daily activities, and these compound into big gains in our energy and our presence and our overall well-being. So how about when we get home? Radiologists and medical imaging professionals are uniquely susceptible to what's called double digital fatigue. You spend the workday immersed in screens and data. It's very demanding and high stakes environment, a lot of time on the screen. Then you return home to a whole other layer of digital engagement that continues to tax your attention and your cognition and give some more cognitive fatigue. There are a number of adjustments that most of these any one of us can make in our personal lives to help with our digital well-being. Just a few on this slide. We'll start with our digital transition ritual. For anyone in medical imaging who works from home, my cousin who has been in medical imaging for decades does work from home. You don't often have that transition from work time to home time because you are already there as a remote worker. There's no clear line. That can lead to a lot of mental carryover into your home time. So especially for remote workers, take that pause, take that deep breath, do a 10-minute meditation session. The insight timer on your phone is perfect for that. You can use that for free to have that transition. Maybe leave the house or the apartment and do a walk around the block. You've left work, you've come back into home at that point. Listen to some music, something you can do to kind of like transfer between your work life into your home life. Now, some of this you can also do even if you work in the office and you commute. You're on that bus going back to the parking lot. You can have some meditation time. You can do the breathing. You can listen to the insight timer, maybe listen to some nice music. I e-bike to work over in Rice near the stadium, but sometimes I do ride the bus, and I actually enjoy doing that and taking a break from my e-bike because I have my headphones on and it can kind of be a meditative time while I'm riding on the bus. There's no distractions, there's nothing. To and from work, it gives me that really nice break. Whether you work at home or commute, most importantly, avoid immediately checking your phone or your social media when you stop work or you arrive home. Mindful device use, the habitual checking of devices. This is one of the things that my students in the summer class noted in their final reflection paper that was their hardest. They could not believe how many times they just reach for their phone constantly, anytime. They're bored. They're standing in line at the grocery store. They're going to the bathroom. Whatever it is, boom, here's my phone. I've got 2 minutes of time, I'm going to be on my phone. So it's a habitual checking of devices. This creates the same attention fragmentation at home that we might be having at work already. So before opening that app or that browser, just pause and ask, why am I opening this? It could be legit. I need to log my calories for the day, or I need to look at my fitness plan. It could be, oh, I just want to go and check on nothing, and 2 hours later I'm still checking on nothing. So you may make that decision as whether you really want to open that browser or open that app at that time. Maybe you don't want to spend some time endlessly scrolling. You can also use what's called focus modes or do not disturb modes. Perfect during mealtime, whether you're eating with family or individual. Perfect when getting ready to go to bed. It will come in handy. You can set intentional goals. I'm going to check the news for 10 minutes, even set a timer. My students over the summer did that a lot. They would set time limits so that you're not endlessly scrolling that way as well. One of the most effective strategies is to keep your devices out of reach during relaxation time, during dinner time, overnight. Break that habit of that automatic checking. One of my students said that he was leaving his out in the living room. My students were at home over the summer. Mostly they were all taking this class with me online, which added a whole other element to a digital well-being class that we're taking over Zoom. And he said he was leaving his phone out in the living room until he woke up one day and found his parents snooping through it. Then he had to find another place to lock it away. But certainly if you can keep it out of reach, it'll help you break that habit. How about the one screen rule too? You could implement this, only one intentional screen use at a time in the evening. That means you're going home and you're watching Netflix, but you're also catching up everything on your phone at the same time while you've got Netflix. Okay, so first of all, Netflix, autoplay, persuasive design, attention economy. I love it, but I limit myself. I've gotten into a really great habit to not autoplay that next episode. I tee it up, get it ready, close it out. But my bad habit is, yeah, sometimes when that's playing, oh, I'm scrolling Facebook or Instagram, and then my attention is completely fragmented through both of those things, just like it was all day at work. So I've had to work really hard to make sure that I do this one screen rule. I put my phone out of reach when I want to watch a show. Same thing happens on Zoom calls. I have to put my phone out of reach when I'm on a Zoom call, or else something's going to distract me. And now I'm scrolling, and now I just missed something that was maybe pretty important in a faculty meeting, or something like that. So the one screen limit, this whole dual screening, and I don't mean when you guys have many screens for your job, I mean at home when we're doing different things, but this whole dual screening, it fragments our attention, it causes our brain to task switch constantly, and it causes a really big cognitive drain, and we're not even really realizing that. Rest and refresh. And I don't have to tell a bunch of medical people how important it is to get sleep. But certainly the blue lights offer that mental stimulation. It delays rest and it reduces your sleep quality. So you can implement what can be called a digital sunset time. A lot of my students over the summer did this. You're powering down your screens, hopefully 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. If you can't, use dim lighting. You can use night shift modes on your phones. You can use blue screen filters, but it would be better if you could actually replace that digital wind down, because I use my phone to wind down as well. I love watching golden retriever reels doing funny things. And my reels is filled with that right now because I watched one and now I have many. But trying to replace that digital wind down time with something analog, stretching, journaling, reading. Some things you might still be on your phone. So it's a little bit of a gray area, but for me, like with Insight Timer or something like that, I'll have my headset in. I'm not looking at my phone, my eyes are closed, but I'm doing that before bed. So yeah, my phone is still close by, it is still involved, but at least I'm not looking at anything. I'm using that Insight Timer to help give me some wind down time. We can practice our digital minimalism. We all have an overabundance of apps on our phone, including me. I'm constantly downloading something and then maybe never using it or not using it as much. And now I have many, many, many screens of apps. We have an overabundance of feeds as well. So we're getting an overabundance of notifications constantly pulling our attention. You can do an app audit. I regularly go through and I just delete all of the apps that I don't need. I try to keep the ones that I use the most. You can kind of focus it on ones that really relate most to your personal values. So apps that help you connect, apps that help you find joy, apps that help you relax, apps that help you learn as well. Batch your information take. You can check your news or social media at fixed times. Maybe you only check it once a day. Maybe you check it twice a day, rather than that's part of that habitual checking on your phone. So batching your information take, turning off any non-essential notifications entirely. Yeah, I've been working on this one. I love to know that soup is on sale at Panera. Believe me, I love Panera. I'm a soup person, but I don't always need that popping up on my phone throughout the day when I'm working on something and then out of the corner of my eye, I see something pop up. So those are the kind of things, yeah, I'll keep that Panera app, but I'm going to turn off those notifications, and I'll just have to go and check to see if there's some good soup on sale for the day. Also, digital detox. Also could be called a technology sabbatical. Maybe you're going to release yourself from the world of technology. And I've got another slide to give you some ideas on how to do that, because it does not mean cold turkey walk away from your phone for a day or 2 days or a week or even an hour. There's a lot of different things that we can do as part of our digital detox. But what we're going to do is use the time when we would be on our devices to do some restorative practices. Maybe you want to integrate some meditation. Maybe you want to integrate a gratitude practice, little things like that. Maybe you want to increase your analog activities offline, like hobbies that are art related or music related, spending time in nature, maybe cooking more, getting involved in some sports or fitness, for example. So even with all of these examples here on the slide, even the little short digital breaks measurably reduce your stress and increase your well-being. And this has been supported by a number of digital detox studies out of Stanford University as well. And I'll give you some examples of some of the things that my students have done. And this can be some guidance for digital detox or a technology sabbatical. This is from the digital well-being class that I taught over the summer. One of the most powerful parts of the course was a technology sabbatical that we did. A hands-on experiment where students observed their digital habits, they set personal goals for well-being, and then they practiced mindful technology use. Once again, these are undergraduate computer science majors, 3rd and 4th years. So for many years, they've been immersed in technology. They will sit on their laptops for 8 hours working on a programming assignment. And then they'll move from that and sit there for 4 or 5 hours, maybe gaming or doing social media or something else, certainly immersed in the technology. So in the very first week of this summer class, students conducted this technology use assessment over a 48-hour period. And you can also do something like this as well. They tracked, and you don't have to do it as strictly as they did, but they tracked how, when, and why they were using technology. This was to better understand their current technology habits and the impact on their well-being. This included time spent on smartphones, time spent on PC computers or laptop computers, their tablets, their TVs, their gaming consoles, any other digital devices that they may have been using. They tracked everything with a screen time tracker spreadsheet that we developed specifically for class. And they also augmented it with things that you can use too. If you're on an iPhone, you've got Apple Screen Time. Turn that on, it'll tell you exactly how many times you pick up your phone throughout the day. It'll tell you how long you spend on various apps and various social media. You might be shocked. You might not be shocked. I was shocked at some of my students when they gave me the data. I was shocked at my own. Thought, my goodness, I didn't pick my phone up that many times, did I? If you're on Android, there's Android Digital Wellbeing that should give you the same type of statistics as well. Now, my students, after their 48-hour assessment, what they then did is they identified 2 or 3 goals of something that they wanted to work on for their tech sabbatical. This could be reducing their social media use. It could be improving their sleep. It could be just becoming more intentional with their online usage. They worked on this for the rest of the course. At the end of the course, they wrote a self-reflection, which comprised of 6 different questions about their progress, their challenges, and their future goals as well. Here are some things. I know it's a lot of words on the screen, so I'll just briefly touch on some of them, but these might give you some ideas. These are some examples of some of the activities that the students worked on. You can also use some of these ideas at home, maybe some of them at work as well. Certainly at home, screen-free spaces. Think about the bedroom, maybe the dining room, a study area where no technology is allowed. Also the screen-free hours, technology-free hours. Maybe this is when you first wake up. Once again, it could be meal times. It could be that 30 to 60 minutes before bed as well. Creating those physical barriers. We don't always have to have our phone on the nightstand. Maybe we put that into a different room so we don't have temptation. Starting the day offline, if you cannot check your phone within the first hour of waking up, that has measurable improvements through studies that I've been reading. in your daily well-being for your daily health as well. Maybe you want to go wild and for a whole weekend be tech-free. I did not have any students do that. And I don't think I've ever done that either. I am addicted to my phones. One of the reasons I'm very interested in this digital well-being area, but maybe you want to, and that would be really great. Certainly, some digital-free rituals. Once again, that can be mealtime, meditation and prayer time was popular with my students. It could be just family time, study time as well. Establishing an end time could be 9 p.m. You're not going to use any more screens after that. Using your blue light filters if you have to be on your phones, though. Doing those analog activities before bed, your app cleanse, that's your audit, removing all of those things that don't add value or waste time. And it could be ones that you are actively using. I did have several students set goals of, I'm leaving Instagram. And I thought, oh, let's see how this is going to go. Some of them added it back after the course was done, because I told them in their final reflection, be honest. I want to really know, how was it? If you couldn't do it more than 2 days and you added it back on, tell me, I want to know. They would make it like a week or 2 weeks. Some of them did like a little in between though. What they did is removed Instagram from their phones, kept it on their laptop. So they could still go and maybe check it once a day or so, but they weren't as drawn to checking it, standing in line, sitting at a stoplight, all the places that maybe we shouldn't be checking our phones. So you could do that app plan, certainly silencing those notifications. Many students did a notification audit and got rid of a lot of notifications. A lot of them started using the do not disturb mode when they were studying or wanting relaxing downtime. Setting that limit, I'm only going to game for 1 hour. This one was popular with some of my gamer students. And they were honest in their reflections, and they said basically if the hour came, because they set a timer and they were still in the middle of a game, they continued playing. But they were mindful of this, and as soon as they got to a good stopping point, then they did stop. Because I had some students that could game for a good 4 and 5 hours at a time. Maybe you want to engage in a lot of activities that you never get to engage in anymore, like I've mentioned before: the art, the music, creative writing, cooking, gardening, board games, jigsaw puzzles. Students were finding all kinds of hobbies over the summer as they were unplugging, which was really nice. Engaging in more in-person social activities. Certainly my students, 3rd and 4th years, are texting their friends versus meeting in person a lot of times. But also this engaging in in-person social activities, I was seeing it through their reflection write-ups, the connections they were making with their friends and their family. You know, some of them said, my mom and I go on walks now and we talk about things that matter to us, versus us maybe like being on our phone, sitting in the same room, alone but together. There's a whole TED talk on that. Also, they were talking about how they noticed it was contagious with their friends. So they were not using their phone. Their friends started not using their phones either when they're socially together. But the friends didn't even realize this was happening until later. When the student that was in my class pointed it out, they were like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize we weren't even really engaged in our phones. And I had such a better time. So it was starting to catch on with people that weren't even in the class. Certainly students were outdoors more, exercising more. They were walking the dog, walking with their family, walking on their own, walking to their summer job. And they incorporated more mindful practices. Some of them were in more of a traditional prayer. Some of them were more into meditation, yoga, spending time in nature. That was their mindfulness practice or reflection as well. And here's a few quotes from them. That is probably pretty small on the screen, but these quotes, I have a very long list of quotes. I just selected these 3. These show the positive personal impacts that the students had. They had improved rest and sleep from their tech sabbaticals. They had improved focus and productivity. They had decreased anxiety. And like I said, these were only 2 to 3 goals. They were not completely disconnecting. They were just setting certain goals that they prioritize and to be more intentional. So we're also seeing a theme once again here that even the small changes made a big impact. So looking ahead for you, a few considerations that I did not address, but I at least wanted to put into this last slide for medical imaging and radiology. I'm not exactly sure where you are with AI right now. But focusing the design of medical imaging technology, when we're talking about integrating AI, we want to make sure that that augments the well-being and not adding a burden. Certainly, AI can offer cognitive relief when used strategically. So this could be something that can be purpose-built to help with your well-being, as well as all the other technical aspects and analysis aspects. Certainly those of you who may be in the design of medical imaging technology, ensuring that it is designed with the human at the center, involving the humans throughout the design process, your radiologists, your technologists, your data entry folks. Focus on usability, which is usually a very high priority, and ergonomics, but also cognitive flow and load, improving focus and reducing the attention fragmentation. All of us in any field can create a call to action. So you can create a call to action to build a culture of digital well-being in medicine. And it doesn't need to be big. It can start with one person and one small change, as we've seen in our examples, to make a big impact. So my final slide, I just wanted to offer this out to you. What is one small change you could make this week to improve your digital well-being, either at work or at home? Now you can just silently reflect on this, but I also invite you to share if you would like to, because this could give others some sparks of ideas as well. And this will transition into our Q&A session.
I think I'm closing my email while I interpret studies. I usually have it open.
Great idea,
And,
closing your
please
email
try.
while you interpret studies. And do you hear the dings or see the number?
I see the.
See the number? Yeah,
That's a big source of.
emails,
stress.
very distracting. Very strong pull on us.
Mhm.
It's the lottery. It's like the slot machine is what email is. I've been studying this in my digital well-being studies, is it's the same dopamine hit that we get. If we're pulling that arm on the slot machine, ding, 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 we didn't win. We didn't win. We didn't win. Wait, we won, maybe just a little bit, but it was good and it felt good. Most of the time we don't win. It's that same thing with email. Checking email. Is it something good? Is it something good? It's usually just a bunch of stuff that maybe we don't want to deal with. But every now and then we get that hit. It's something good. Personal email, it could be an email from a long lost friend. It could be some sort of good news that you're getting extra refund in your tax refund or something, right? But most of the time it's not. But it's the same effect as a slot machine. Any other tweaks? Yeah.
I like that, the idea of pausing between studies, just making a mental break.
Yeah.
It's very easy for us to get in the just trying to get through the list, keep going, keep moving. But yeah, taking that just a little bit of time to take that mental reset, I think it will improve focus and I
Yeah.
hadn't thought about that. And also the idea of going an hour without touching technology in the morning.
Nice one.
That's
Yeah.
actually, it's interesting about I'd be interested to see about some of those studies that
Yeah.
show the improved focus, but I mean, it makes sense.
Yep, I work on that one as well. No technology. Don't look at my phone until after breakfast.
So thank you for the talk. It's a general question not related to this reflection. I was listening to a podcast this morning and the concept of synthetic companionship is starting to be more discussed. And given the way that the LLMs operate similarly and kind of being quite obsequious and constantly giving you praise for any kind of
Yes.
question or comment. Jared, that's a great question. That's a good comment.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. Have you started to look at that, and are investigators examining what impact that has on social separation?
Yeah, we talked about that in the summer class, the social companionship, and there's certainly positives and negatives. One student mentioned that his friend's younger brother, when they went and looked through his chat GPT sessions, because it saves everything, he was it was his girlfriend, essentially. So he had a chat GPT girlfriend. And I'm not sure how that was affecting him. And there's a lot of studies that are starting to look at that. Companionship for the elderly, though, I think is so much more valuable. Someone to talk to. Hey, let's talk about something from my past, right? So if I'm elderly someday and I'm talking to my AI companion, I'd be like, hey, let's talk about MTV. You know, let's talk about some of the big superstars of the eighties, right? I'm a huge eighties gal, right? It would probably kind of be nice to have that stimulation and some conversation with someone. So I definitely see some advantages. That constant praise can backfire on you. And I did just read an article that one of my students read to me. This isn't a companionship issue, but it was someone who was talking, so actually verbally talking. And I just turned that feature on with chat. And it's very interesting and kind of amazing and scary at the same time. And so I haven't played with it much, but someone was talking and he came up with some sort of theory. I forget what it was, but it was a scientific theory in the area of physics. And because it does so much praise, chat's writing back and saying, that's a groundbreaking idea. This is the most amazing thing. This is changing the way we think about things. And he kept on and on. And he spent months where he became fixated, quit his job, stopped engaging with his family on this new idea that was going to be groundbreaking against what we know about physics. And it was all fake because they have started to placate you so much. And in fact, places like OpenAI have learned and started dialing that back so that it's not giving us as much praise. But I've tested mine a few times. I went to it with an incident that happened that was bothering me emotionally, and I wanted to see how it would work as a therapist, because that's the whole other world, right? Can it replace having a therapist? So I went to it with an issue that was happening. I was kind of mad at my friends about something. They didn't meet my expectations. Oh, she was lovely though. ChatGPT gave me so much moral support and told me how great that I was. I actually walked away feeling much better about the whole situation, and I wasn't mad at my friends anymore. So it's a double-edged sword, and there certainly needs to be a whole lot more research in that. That's a great question. Yes.
What research tools do you have to actually track attention fragmentation on screens? Like, what do you have anything that we could use, for instance?
Maria's working on that right now. So Maria's working on that right now. One of my students on my Dual Collective research project. I can bring that to you once we know. She's doing research as to what exists, but she might be building her own purpose-built one. There are a few other tools that I can create a list that allow us to go into like focus mode, but it's not so much watching you and tracking your focus. That's a niche. That would be a really great research area for more people to go into to develop those, especially for your type of environment. Focus modes on things help people that are writers or something like that, right? They can put their screen into, it's nothing but a blank white canvas with one little blinking cursor, and you can write with no other digital distractions. That's a physical focus mode on your system. That's not applicable to what you need. You need something to be able to monitor your focus, maybe tell when you're starting to lose focus and tell you to take a break. That's exactly what Maria's working on, and she's using machine learning to do it. She just started the semester though, so we haven't gotten that far yet. Great question. Yes.
Do you think any of these things are strategies that the department could implement, on its own and saying you have to do these, or is that gonna never really work and backfire on, say, the residents or the faculty? Things like, in the floors, people can't have their phones out. We have, if I read out with someone, there's at least 3 phones on the workstation and 2 computers logged in, that sort of thing, or it's something that we just have to individually do on our own, or
Right.
is there an in between, like your email only logs in for 10 minutes,
Right.
automatically logs out or something like that?
So you actually brought up some things that I had questions for you guys as well. I wasn't sure if you're allowed to have your phones near you when you're doing your analysis and your focused reading or not. So certainly I would think some things like that, a department could certainly mandate and say, no phones in this particular environment or during this time of work that you're doing. There might not be as much pushback against that just because of the high stakes of what you're doing. It's kind of like saying no phone next to the surgery table, right? Don't check your email while you're performing surgery. It's just as important. Some of the other practices, though, I definitely see could be more voluntary. They could be incentivized in certain ways, though. At least on the academic side, we have a lot of things that are incentivized for us to do in terms of our well-being. Sometimes it could be a monetary incentivization. It could be something else as well. So I think it's going to be an in-between. Depends on the politics of the organization and the hospital and the medical practice as well. But certainly implementing as many as you can on your own would be important.
Yeah, it's interesting. So our phones often double as our communication devices for what we need to be When somebody.
Like your
gets-
pager,
Yes, there's a
right?
pager. Pagers have gone away and
Yep.
now it's all an
Yep.
app
Yeah,
on a phone. And we have people, some people have that on their personal phones, some people have
Right.
it on their work issue.
yes,
And so, but it is interesting about talking about notification reduction. One of the things that we suffer with is that people want to get a hold of us regardless of what we're doing.
Mhm.
And it's not always urgent. So, like, for instance, we're constantly getting interrupted during studies.
Mhm.
Somebody's calling us on the phone, somebody's paging us to do something, all this stuff. And the idea of somehow creating a system where all of that stuff could be queued. And when you go to the next study, you're presented with your notifications
right,
that have happened would be a huge win for us.
right.
Because this fragmentation of attention is frankly dangerous.
Right. Oh, yes, definitely from some of the things that I started reading in some of the medical journals out there. Yes.
Yeah, so but the problem is how do you get somebody to buy into that and to do something about it? I mean, it would be a lot for somebody to undertake that and try to, research all that, design a system that does that. I mean, I guess the advocation, we have to advocate for ourselves, but
Yeah.
we're advocating for so many other things at the same time.
But also that sounds like a good partnership with computer science folks to help build something like that as a beta test. We're not rolling it out to everyone. And then beta test proves success and then it starts gaining traction as well. And there would be some things we would have to work through with that about your queuing system. I think that's perfect. The queuing system could kind of prioritize, but like you said, who's going to put that priority on there? Someone's going to put this as a high priority when you yourself know this is a low priority. So we'd have to figure out some of those aspects as well into the queuing system so that high priority things can still come to you. Real high priority things can still come to you, but the lower ones get queued. I think that's a fantastic idea. Maybe I can find some grant money for that.
Please.
We good on time,
Good
Julian?
on time, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A few good books up there if you wanted to read more. Digital Distraction, Digital Minimalism, and The Shallows are really great, and a few other links up there too.
Great, thank you. Got something for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone on Zoom.
No, thank you.